going on? George, you're muted.
See that? You need to mute too. But it's just a Tuesday, not vacation day. We're on another MSP Initiative Live. See, it caught everybody off guard there. How about that?
Did.
Yeah, it's all good. So, some housekeeping as usual for anyone that doesn't watch these regularly, or maybe you just forget. A couple things that we just get out of the way here in the beginning. Channel Strong Tour. We just finished one up in May. We're about to go on another one in July. You can stay tuned on our stops. But it looks like the back 2 weeks of July, we're going to be back out on the road. This time for the first time in the Northeast because it is finally open. So we're coming to you, Northeast. And for anyone that doesn't also know, we do monthly giveaways with a bunch of vendors who throw some cool prizes in. So raise your hand, right? All you got to do is throw your name in the hat and maybe you will win one of 10 prizes. What do you have?
I have to say that man crate was pretty cool. I got a little sneak peek of what that was on the last one when it went out, and our MSP winner sent the picture back. It was actually a Bloody Mary crate. So it's everything you need to make homemade Bloody Marys.
I don't know if I saw that picture, but yeah, all
very
good.
Cool.
And then every session, like the one that we're on right now, right? They're online. You can find ones that make sense. There's probably a couple hundred now since we've been doing this for a little while, but you can download, fast forward, rewind, stay up to date on what's going on. So that's all our housekeeping, right? Simple, easy, just kind of pointing you in the right direction so you know where you're going. Alec, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. How about you?
I'm excited that we're going to be talking about DattoCon soon.
We are. Very soon. Thursday, we have a meeting.
So I'm kind of pumped. I'm not going to lie.
It feels normal. It feels good.
Yeah. So like we're actually like maybe going to feel like, I mean, who knows what what it'll be, right? Well, capacity wise, whatever. But it kind of feels like we could be back to normal a little bit, especially with the events. We are planning some interesting wrinkles as we normally do. Can't tell you what that's going to be yet because it's a secret.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we have what, 3 major conferences or 4 major conferences are planned between now and the end of the year, which is
Well, I mean,
awesome.
The question is, which ones are we going to do things around? And right now, it looks like 2.
So. It's true. This is true, but I mean, overall, getting getting those people out and seeing a crowd that size. I mean, Ron Robbins had a pretty good crowd.
I just don't know what the size is going to be, though, right? Like when IT Nation and DattoCon were in their peak, you're talking 3, 4, 5,000 people. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there. I would love to see it, to be honest with you. I just don't know if we're going to get there.
Actually, I'm going to throw out an ask to people on Facebook and in the Zoom room. What conferences are you guys going to? Looks like Keith said he's going to DattoCon. It's his first time. It's a good show. You'll have a lot of fun.
But Keith also wants to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Keith, here you go. We're gonna see this. I'm gonna throw him a curveball. I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna bring you in, Keith. You can unmute. Let's talk. Let's talk about your Dallas Cowboys. What's up, buddy?
That's America's team. Clearly.
America. Well, so the question is, why did Dallas give him the contract extension when he basically had an Alex Smith style injury? We don't even know if he can walk yet.
Oh no, he looks good. Have you been to training camps yet?
No, I haven't.
By the way, last time I went, for my son, he autographed a jersey, a football, and a helmet.
That's awesome.
So it went in my Dallas Cowboy room.
I do know that he got the deal with Jordan sneakers, right? The sponsorship.
Yeah.
Deal. So we like to call that like an Iverson-esque style deal here in Philadelphia. But Allen Iverson's it's a it's a good story. Allen Iverson's mom, when he did the deal for the sneakers, had them write into the contract that the money wouldn't be unlocked until he was 40. So that must have been really good foresight, because dude went broke. And then you got 40 and he wasn't broke anymore. So I'm not sure that that's how Dak Prescott's deal is done, but that's the deal here in Philadelphia.
We used to do a series of presentations for Finish Line, a shoe company, when I was coach of Team USA, and we used to do them with Deion Sanders, another great Dallas Cowboy.
Of course.
And he is one of the few athletes that retained his money. He was very sound financially. The only thing he did, which I thought was an interesting story for those who are not Deion fans, the first thing he did when he signed a contract was set up his mother. Do you know the story behind that?
No, tell us.
When he was growing up, he was rather poor, single mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to make sure that he had all the best tennis shoes and track shoes, because he was always an exceptional athlete. And one of the kids asked, "What does your mom do?" And he lied because he was ashamed of her. He said she was a nurse, when she actually worked multiple jobs, cleaning house and cleaning factories. And so he always felt guilty about that. And the first thing he did when he made it big was take care of his mom.
Well, that's,
by the way,
I would expect that.
Do you know what his favorite sport is?
What's that?
No one ever guessed. We were in the bass fishing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was interesting. So
Yeah.
that was quite an event, because my son's a huge Dallas Cowboy fan, and I was there doing a presentation with members of Team USA and Special Olympians, and I didn't tell my son that he was opening for Deion Sanders.
That's
so
cool.
I said, introduce the next
awesome.
speaker, and he starts to read off the teleprompter and turns behind him, and Deion Sanders is standing behind him.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So you signed up for DataCon for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Never been.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just never went before. We just converted to becoming Datto partners, and people asked me, "How did you convert?" And I said, "Rob Ray finally gave me a backpack." No, that was a joke. He was down in Orange County, and I gave him a ride. He wanted to have a ride in my new convertible, and he goes, "Where'd you?" I had a different competitor's backpack. He said, "Why don't you have a Datto backpack?" I said, "You never gave me one." And he said, "By the way, why are you not a Datto partner?" I said, "In all the years I've known you, you've never asked me." And that's a true story. And he said, "You want to become a Datto partner?" I said, "Yeah, have the guy call my people. We'll do that." And we converted.
And just like that, you're a Datto partner.
Just a backpack and a question. I'm that easy.
Yep, I got it. I'm sending you a backpack, Keith. That's all it took. So I got one on the way now.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
We got the message. That was easy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Let us know when you're signing up.
All right, cool.
Oops, let me.
Awesome.
I'm a rookie move. I didn't turn off my sounds. Anyway,
It happens.
yeah. So, Keith, what other than you just signed up with Datto, you've been around for a while, right? You've been to several events, right? What is it about Datto versus all the other options that you had that said, "Yep, that's the one"?
Well, actually, I was going to follow up and say, which tool are you talking about? Because obviously they have a pretty big suite now.
Well, I assume backup.
Oh, we moved everything. We moved to Autotask, the RMM. We went ConnectWise and Continuum. I have a business part. I do the technology side, and I have a business partner who does the business side, and we have some odd billing arrangements. And he said he was tired of people telling him, "You're not doing business right." And we've been in business since, we're not a big player, but we've been in business since 1999. Our first two customers were the ports of LA and Long Beach and Boeing. So it's not like we're into small cut,
Good.
And so some of those contracts involve billing multiple companies for the same contract. And they would say, "Oh, that's not the way to do it." And we said, "You know what? We just want to find a way to work with someone that understands. We want to do business our way. We think it works." It may not for other people, but whatever.
Makes sense. And
as far as conferences, I'm going to San Antonio for the channel conference. I'd go to any of them. I know for a fact that cigars prevent COVID, so I'm not worried about it.
There you go.
I'll tell you, I proved it factually. We were doing the Port of LA, and that never stopped. And so I'm old, fat, and diabetic, so I should have had it. I was going down the port every day, and the guys go, "How come you never caught COVID?" And I said, "Because I smoke a cigar every night." And I broke a tooth, had to have a tooth removed. The dentist said, "You can't have a cigar for 2 weeks." And I said, "I'm not going to do that." He said, "How about 5 days?" Third day, I caught COVID. So that kind of proves my theory.
Wow. You never
have
know.
A cigar every.
They say that every time you get to these people who get to like triple digits in age, right? And they ask them, "Well, what's your secret?" They're like, "Oh, I eat bacon every day." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, they're just weird stuff like that. But I believe you.
Well, you think about it, cigar is a plant that's rolled up. So it's almost like a salad. I mean, I equate it to having, it's a salad. It's a leafy green vegetable in a bunch. That's what you do with a salad, right?
100%. Even
and chocolate's a bean, so that's good for you.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true. No, these are all good things, man. I mean, so you got it, you got over it, and now we're going back out on the road, man.
I was actually lucky. I had a little bit of cough and was tired, which is unusual for me. And that was it. I mean, I never felt like going to the hospital or calling a doctor or, just like power through it and no big deal. Other people have had it worse, and I understand that. I don't want to discount that, but it just was not a major thing for me.
No, I mean, listen, everybody.
And I went back to smoking cigars. He said, you shouldn't smoke.
Yes. I mean, listen, genetics probably plays a large part of it, right? Let's not, like everybody's makeup's different, but good news is that, I mean, we were just talking about Channel Strong Tour come back, going back out on the road next month. I mean, finally, some of the more lockdown places, right? Like, especially on the East and the West Coast. I mean, you're in Texas, Keith, right? They had it.
No, he's in California, right?
California.
Yeah. Oh, you're in California. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in California.
You're right. They're finally going to lift, right? In July.
They're supposed to announce it today. I just the governor said he was going to lift, and he said he's not, and I think he's playing the recall game.
They said it's today.
But I heard Disney's going to.
We'll see. Oh, we got all these.
Disney's going to open them.
Well, Disney laid off thousands and thousands of people because they wouldn't let them open, right? So hopefully, jobs back. But
so we'll be out your way in September.
That's right.
Oh, where at?
We are doing
back
to pretty much the whole state. So we're doing a little bit out of states. We're going to be doing Vegas, Phoenix, Denver, and then we're going to be doing all the way up California coast. So
let me know.
Absolutely.
I'll buy you guys dinner, a drink, and we'll have a cigar.
Well, it depends on how quick you got to move, man, because like that bus got to move between cities, right? So
that is true.
You always can stop for single malt and a cigar.
We'll let the guys on the bus know, especially Ken Patterson. Oh, and of course my buddy Darren here, who's like, listen, when you're back in California, right, we're gonna have to stop by San Diego, so of course, right? Make sure everything's good. But yes, apparently everything's supposed to be opening today. Let's hope, for your sake, not that a lot of people are following whatever rules are in place, but
unfortunately, I did see that the UK pushed theirs back. Theirs was supposed to be this week, and they pushed back to July. So,
a couple of our customers are in hospitality, and they've been starting to open up. Convention center, we put in the thermometers and the mass sensors, which are kind of cool, and they just have to get back to business. I mean, you're going. There's some of the rules are odd. Like you cannot fill a water bottle, but a guy can hand you a water bottle. I go, I don't care where that makes sense, but who's going to argue with minimum wage people?
There were some weird ones in multiple states, right? Like, hey, you can't paint, and you're like, what does paint have to do with COVID? You couldn't get on a boat. I was like, all right, but I'm on a boat by myself. How am I going to transfer? I don't know. There's some weird stuff, but hey. it definitely helped technology, except for a couple of things, right? There's still a chip shortage. Like, what is this? Why are like this chip shortage thing? I feel was coming, and COVID had nothing to do with it. But like, once everybody started buying laptops, two for one special, I feel like things went a little bit out of sorts. We're still hearing people saying that like Dells and Lenovo's and HP's like back ordered depending on models to like September. You know,
but it's even bigger than that. I mean, it echoed originally. We saw it with the webcams, right? That was the first thing. Everybody grabbed a webcam, so it was just game over. And then chips started up, and I feel like that's echoed well past. Yep, video cards, Darren, from all the
Best
Bitcoin.
Buy the other day, Darren, and they had a sign on the door. We don't have video cards. I was like, okay. David,
I think you're going to start seeing. You'll start seeing easing. I mean, look at lumber prices. Now the hoarders are getting burned, and so you know because we're involved with the import and export, the ports, and do that. You know, we know the logistics part. They're working up to full speed plus. It's a matter of getting some containers back to China and so on, because they're going back empty, and no one wants to pay that tonnage because it's the same. But you know, I think logistically we're going to be solid. We're expecting a busier than normal Christmas season at the ports, which for the ports, that's July and August. Just say, I mean, that's generally if you're, well, they're a little better now, but if you're not on dock by October, no one's buying it for Christmas, right?
Well, it's interesting, Keith, because I mean, me and Alec talk cars all day long because, you know, that's like, if it's not alcohol and of the liqueur variety, we're talking about cars, right? And like, people are talking about selling their cars right now because they're getting more than the value that they bought it at. I mean, like, there's literally an inventory shortage.
Used car market's horrendous right now because new cars can't get the chips. And a lot of them are shorting out. And I mean, Tesla's that kept up okay production because they produce their own, but most of the other companies are in real trouble.
I just don't understand. Like,
I took my car.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I took my car into the dealer the other day to actually get the wiper blades because I couldn't figure out how to get them off. And they're $280 a set, by the way. Anyway, the sales guy came out there and said, "Do you want to sell your car?" And I go, "I've only had it for like 16 months. I only got 9,000 miles on it." He goes, "I have people backed up that'll buy your car for what you bought it for." He goes, "We cannot get any S-Class convertibles in the US."
Wow.
And I go, well, yeah. And mine's an untagged AMG, which is really rare. Black on black untagged AMG. And
Great car.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Even our friends over at Data, since you brought it out, even they're like, I was talking to somebody today. They're like, "Oh, I need to buy some more switches." I was like, "Oh, they're back ordered." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Even they're getting a little bit affected. So it's interesting to see. Like, at what point you said, you know, hoarders are going to get hurt, but it almost feels like the guys that had some stock on the shelf actually made out.
Yeah, but some people get in the game too late, and some people pay too much at a premium. And like I said, they're starting to find that with lumber right now. Lumber's on the decline.
Thank God.
And lumber was a lot of things. The mills weren't sophisticated enough of an environment to create a COVID safe work environment. And so, you know, that's a little different. Chips, I don't understand it because you're always going, they're in clean rooms. They should be COVID safe all year long.
And there was also a lot of, wasn't there a lot of stoppage between overseas and here for quite a bit? And like you said, something's coming in October, might make it to the shelves for December. So, I mean, you're always running a couple months behind. So it would make sense that kind of in the peak of COVID, a couple months of them stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would have had a
delay? But we really, the ports never really shut down. I mean, I was hearing that and I'm going, no, I see the daily dispatch totals because our system dispatches all the workers. You know, that's what we do. And I'm going, the workforce didn't really shut down.
But didn't it switch from like importing normal goods to importing all the masks and the PPE and everything else?
Yeah, there was, we were buying masks from China, which kind of has kind of an odd, that's a.
I agree. That was odd for sure.
And the masks that California imported were no good anyway.
Yeah, well.
By the way, do you know who warned against improper use of PPP?
Who is that?
It's a white paper Fauci wrote about 18 years ago. Says if you don't use PPP correctly, it's more dangerous than not using it at all. And I don't know of a single person that used their mask correctly. In fact, disposable masks are supposed to be thrown away every day, or if you sneeze, cough, or get it wet.
I think
how many people you just shove it in your shirt pocket and put it. Cloth masks are supposed to be washed a minimum of every day. Yeah. And I laugh at that. I go, I wear mine till it stinks, just like, and so, and most people don't have it fitted right. And it was, I don't think it had a value. I don't think it really had a value proposition. I think there was better ways to educate people to be safe versus mask them up.
No, I hear you, right?
I'm just happy we're back. I'm just happy to
understand the beginning part of it, right? But things went real south there, and the chips will fall where they may on Dr. Fauci. But let's get back to the tech talk for a second. Okay. So it's interesting, since we have you on the line, Keith. So Microsoft within 48 hours announced that Windows 11 was coming, and that Windows 10 end of support was going to be October 14th, 2025.
Does that feel like a shorter time frame than they've given in the past?
Oh yeah, but I mean, there's usually a year span, right, for operating systems. But like Windows 11, they're kind of taking a Mac-like approach, right? We just update. Like, you remember at one time it was like, oh no, you got to wipe and you got to reinstall. You can't just do it like a in-place upgrade, right? That was the big problem with Windows 7 to Windows 10 or whatever, right? But in this case, it looks like, like I'm hoping, but from all accounts, this is going to be an in-place upgrade, kind of like the Mac OS X, whatever, right? It's just, but to your point, Alec, it does like 2025, right? We're in 2021. So you're talking about 4 years.
For an end of support ramp, that's
and by the way, you're going in a business environment, and I kind of think different. That's why I always say we're not an MSP. In a business environment, why would you have a desktop on the desk for 4 more years? When you really look at it, and people look at the wrong thing, they go, a desktop cost X. You go, no. What does it cost you to have an ineffective, inefficient tool that is not running at top speed to support your business processes?
Oh, 100%.
And then you look at the cost of an in-place upgrade. We introduced something at Boeing years ago. They used to Boeing was cheap because they were cheap. And they would come and say, we got to fix these machines. And I'd say, it's on the shop floor. Your ratio is 4 to 1 for users using each desktop and I said, what we're going to do is have a crash cart. And we're going to take a new computer down. If your computer's broken, if I can't fix it immediately, we just replaced it so that the staff could get back to work. And we would take the computer upstairs and decide whether to scrap it or to reload it, reimage it. Yeah, but the time you spent on figuring out what's wrong.
Yeah, but like on a corporate refresh schedule, 5 years is not totally uncommon. I know the manufacturers want 3, right? But I can see 5 being like realistic, right? So if you're like, for example, if they're saying, hey, end of life, right? And we all know people don't necessarily always meet these deadlines, but like if end of life is 4 years from now, you buy a computer that's supposed to last 5, then there's a delta of 1 year, right?
Well, I think most of our clients are down to 3 for desktops.
Okay. Are you doing it as a service, or are they refreshing just out of pocket?
It depends. It's from customer to customer, but you work that in. And by the way, we don't sell computers. We sell terminals, and we call them different. Like at the dispatch hall, even though it has servers and computers, one's called a chalkboard, one's called a kiosk. So they're specific to their needs, and you evaluate any business, and IT budgets are like a bite on a gnat's ass compared to labor's costs. So labor efficiency include engineering or re-engineering business processes, improving capacity and service delivery to their guests is so much more important than the cost of a computer. And in some of them, which like the hospitality, I go, just the optics of someone walking, you walked into a hotel and you're going to spend 400, 500 a night because you like to stay in nicer places. And they got a piece of crap, ugly monitor in your face that doesn't even match environment. You go, you want something that looks good. So optics are important too. And look at the value to an employee. When I say, George, your work is so important, I'm going to make sure you're on a steady refresh rate so I can keep you highly efficient.
Yeah.
Now, when have I made the cost of that computer back? The first month.
Yeah. Yeah. If your employee is frustrated because their computer's dog slow, I will admit that solid state drives have really helped the drop off a few years in, right? Like before, like those disks would just get slow and your computer would just crawl, right? The solid state disks, not saying they don't go bad, but like they don't have that same mechanical problem, right? But in the token, to Keith's point, yeah, people like getting new stuff, number one. Number two, they just want to be able to do their work, right? Totally get it. Can't keep the car on the road forever, even if they're buying it back at a ridiculous price. Yeah, like we use Microsoft Service devices here, right? Everybody loves it, right? It's like the Microsoft equivalent of the MacBook. A little bit pricey sometimes, but it's a feel, right? It's like, why would you buy a nicer kind of more luxury car, right? Part of it is the feel, right? Makes you feel good. So that helps.
And you're walking out to make a tech presentation, and you should have something that's decent. I mean, you're a tech guy.
100%. We had
so,
on the
have you ever looked at the interruption rates? It's in the key management study. We studied this at Stanford years ago. One employee down for 1 hour equals 4 more. So for every 1 hour, you get 5 of non-productivity. Because if your computer's not working, you're just not going to sit there and behave. You're going to lean over and say, hey, what'd you do last night? You see the Cowboys dominate the Eagles? And that's a discussion you're going to have with your, and that's going to interrupt a group around you. And you don't just, when the guy's done fixing your computer, you don't just run up and say, oh, time to get back to work. You got to wind down from your social hour. 100%. And so those inefficiencies, and then you have a complete loss of faith in the tool set. Eventually, when someone says this system doesn't work worth a damn, I forget where, then people find out ways to circumvent the system to avoid the business process, and that is contagious. The guy goes, how do you enter this? Well, it never works anyway. And so I just think the investment is, when I hear people talking about that, I mean, just the other day on Facebook, someone was saying, I'll show you my picture of me on the scoreboard at Dallas Cowboys Stadium and watching the game from the sidelines. Anyway, what someone said the other day, I'm looking for someone who wants free anti-spamware because they're a nonprofit. And I said, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. The cost of a spam protection is so minute compared to cleaning out your inbox to get to important mail every day. You probably pay for the monthly subscription the first half hour it's installed.
Oh yeah.
So Darren throws a couple of ideas out here. Just throw it into the mix. We have many clients with 5+ year old desktops which are still fine because of SSDs. Often notice no difference when being replaced. He's like, I'd also argue IT budgets are being seriously strained because of the increasing shift. I'm going to throw a word in there, shift to cybersecurity defense costs. So deferring new PCs have become something that's necessary, right? Because their dollars are going in a different direction. What do you think there, Keith?
Well, you start out, you go, IT is a cost center. So when you walk around with your red cape and your S on your chest and say IT's here to save the day, or we own the network, which is crap. You know who owns the network? Sales. Sales owns everything in the company. So when you're tying these initiatives, instead of trying to sell computers, which is stupid, you might as well go to Kmart and put out a blue light, because now you're selling commodities to get your ass beat. You're selling a process, a service. So you're selling the idea of uptime. You're selling the idea of secure email so they can freely communicate with their potential customers. You're not selling cybersecurity. If I'm a small business, my expertise, I'm a hotel. My expertise is putting butts in beds. That's what I know. I don't know security, nor do I care. I do care if I can't accept credit cards or if I can't send RFPs back to get convention bids. So you have to tie these initiatives to business processes. And no longer is it an IT initiative to give sales all new laptops. It's a sales initiative, and sales makes money. No longer is it an IT initiative to upgrade the accounting system. It's an accounting initiative, and accounting makes sure the bills are paid.
Somebody has to make sure, like, we still come back to, I mean, this is kind of known as like shadow IT, right? Every department's doing their own thing. And the person that's supposed to be managing the technology is finding out after the fact, right? There still's got to be a plan. Right? Somebody still has to be managing the actual logistics of this, or else it becomes to the point where it sprawls out of control. I mean, we see it all the time, right? I mean, we've all walked into a customer where we're like, yeah, do you have a list of all the stuff you're using? Well, no, we have to go to every department and ask them, or go to the credit card bill and figure out what we're being billed for. And you're like, why did it? Well, every department manager just did their own thing. That's crazy to me. I know it happens, but like, if you let it get to the point where, you just don't even know what's in place. Back to Darren's point, how do you even secure that, right? Like, what if the basic just, if you signed up for an accounting SaaS platform, he signed up for a marketing SaaS platform, he signed up for some sales tool, you don't even know, right? Until, God forbid, there's an actual problem. And then you're like, well, when did we put this in and who has access, right? So.
Yeah. And it's a matter of not selling services or commodities, but integrating into business flow. And it's a different, that's why I say when people say, are you an MSP? I go, no, we're not, because I don't even know what an MSP is. I don't even know what they really do. You're involved in business flow. And so how you prevent that shadow IT is be part of the leadership in the initiatives.
Sure.
Is to really be bringing, here's an extreme example. We had, well, this is 1999, we first opened. We put about 3,500 computers on the Boeing shop floor to get the C-17 out. Not one of them was called a workstation. Final assembly terminal. At the porthole, they're all named, this is a check-in kiosk. So if someone wants to challenge our pricing, go tell me what a check-in kiosk is. You can't find that on Dell's site or Lenovo's site. And you look at that, you go, why do I replace it in 3 years when it could last 5? 300 longshoremen check on it every day. So stretching it to the day it breaks means X number of labor, and those longshoremen, some of them make more than I do. So
it's the same analogy with, hey, if you maintenance your car, you don't break down on the side of the road, right? I get it, 100%. Brent comes back on the kind of shadow IT SaaS thing that we were talking about. He says, not only that, but you also get nailed with minimum license count. I think that's what we were talking about when you said that there, Brent. So it's interesting where, back to your point, Keith, right? Keeping the ball rolling, keeping the operational, kind of day-to-day moving without breaking the thing down. And listen, it sounds like you're in some, the Port Authority, right? That's very unique, right? To a regular, like, business services type customer, right? Or even Boeing, right? I mean, it's a very high profile manufacturing gig, which is great, by the way. You have some pretty nice customers there, Keith. At the end of the day, I think it's very interesting. There was a comment earlier in the thread here where somebody's like, hey, we're going back to maybe terminal services. I mean, are people finally coming back? Like everything's cyclical a little bit, but like it feels like Windows Virtual Desktop or terminal service, kind of non-cloud variant. I mean, there seems to be making a pretty heavy step back, right, in terms of what's being proposed and quoted out there, simply because you don't care what the endpoint is, right? I mean, it could blow up. You could go buy a cheap computer temporarily even and get back online without no muss, no fuss. There's the other side of that though, right? And Matt Lee talks about this all the time for everybody that knows him. Beard guy, can't miss him. He's like and Dom from PAX 8, for example, right? They're like evangelists for autopilot, right? And like basically there's a feature as part of Windows Autopilot. It's like a 365, kind of feature where you can literally blow the machine up remotely and have it reinstall and, kind of put itself back together again to like your kind of stable image, if you would. Is there a preference? I mean, I guess it depends on what your end customer is doing, but is there a preference, right? I know not everybody's totally adopted Azure AD and serverless and all that stuff, but the same result, right? You don't care what the endpoint is. It really just bounces itself and you can get back to ground zero. In the virtual desktop environment or terminal services for that matter, a lot easier to manage because like the machine's a dummy machine, right? Like there's no science to that. But if the central like point goes down, right? That terminal server, that Azure account, whatever, and nobody's perfect, right? Microsoft has problems like everybody else. Then all of you are down, right? Does that play right now in the decision-making process of which direction you go in?
I mean, there's always a point that could bring you down, right? Your internet, your power. There's always something that can bring you down, and there are backups. And
if everybody's decentralized, right? Like if you're if my Surface right here, like if Office 365 goes down, my Surface is still running, right? I can still do stuff locally and get on, maybe other websites or whatever. But if your terminal server or your Windows Virtual Desktop environment goes down, you're down.
Yeah, it does lead to another major point of failure. I mean, I think I liked what Keith was saying earlier, where we talked about, I'm not selling computers, right? I'm selling process, I'm selling efficiency. And that's a huge evolution you see in MSPs in terms of maturity. I mean, you see the people that generally start off and it's phones and computers and things like that. The evolution comes right where Keith was hitting on, which is, I'm not your computer guy. You can call me and I'll come and fix it, but I'm on a recurring contract with you and I'm doing more than just coming in and fixing your computer, right? I'm part of the leadership discussion. I'm part of the budget planning. I'm part of all of those things because I make sure your business continues to run. The minute you're down, this is what's going to cost.
And this is one of those strategic decisions though, right? I mean,
no, it definitely is.
Like I want to hear Keith's opinion. Keith, since you
the question, I think you're asking my opinion because I'm the oldest, but anyway, the real issue is we sell backup and recovery, and that is not disaster preparedness. That's a part of it and a small piece. And by the way, a hint to my other service delivery MSPs on there, you make more money creating the entire procedures than you do just selling backup and recovery. And so your question about whether or not you go terminal or, where you can have all down depends on how you can arrange a system to allow the business to run efficiently while you're recovering that server. And my example is, I'll use this, we have hospitality with it. So can a restaurant go back to using order tickets and a card reader or a manual credit card? So now they can, right? So do you have a complete process in place that is we practice failover at the ports every quarter, and it hasn't had a system failure since we installed it in 1999. But we still practice it so that the people know that they can continue to do their job. Because remember, our customers are not our customers. Our customers' customers are our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're a horrible MSP, your customer can't say our computers are down, because that makes them look inefficient and ineffective. You check into a hotel today and you're tired, you spent 18 hours on a plane, you got delayed, you're pissed off. You surely don't want someone to say, I can't check you in because the computer's down. You don't really give a shit. Get me in my room. I want my butt in the bed. And so when you talk about terminal server and shared resources, which can build some efficiencies and some support efficiencies, you want to make sure that they have in place the ability to handle any service interruptions without degrading their guest experience.
I think you're 100% spot on, Keith. I mean, I got to tell you, I would say 1 in 10 technology, or I'm going to use a Paul Redding from Compliancy Group. Look him up. Use a Paul Redding. I think he may be copywritten in it. Business solutions provider. Forget technology. I help your business. It's a great presentation. I can tell you that 1 in 10 technology providers, not even called MSPs, so I think Keith doesn't like that term now. That's okay, Keith. I'm playing along. How often going in and talking about, hey, when the technology's down, let's talk about the plan, right? To your point, right? And you gave a great example on restaurants and like the Keystone pipe, or not Keystone, whatever the pipeline, Colonial Pipeline, right? Ransomware, we all heard about it. Gas went up in certain parts of the country to like $7 a gallon. Or they didn't even have gas. Their CEO came out and they're like, all of the people that knew how to run the pipeline without the technology aren't here anymore. Nobody know, like the people who know how to do it, we don't have those people anymore. All of the people that we have now, the nouveau people, only know how to work with technology. That's a bad statement, in my opinion. Like, if it could have been done, you should have been prepared to do that. I mean, worst case scenario, right? I mean, it's
well, in that instance, then you need dual redundancy. I mean, that's the answer. As you walk through it with your client, and I hope I'm not offending any backup and recovery vendors, you don't start with, I got this nice little BDR I could sit, it's pretty on your shelf, you'll see the lights flash, and I'll send you a screenshot every day. That's where you end. That's part of your ending. Your beginning is, how can your business survive with no computers for an extended amount of time? And if the answer is it can't, you have to build in the dual redundancy. If it can, and you have a reasonable time to reinstate it, then you do so.
I love Brent. He pops
and I think that's your presentation.
No, you're absolutely right, Keith.
Absolutely.
Your point, Keith, and
by the way, the experience I have, so people want to know if I had any reference in it. I was the chairman of the board of the Indian Regional Center during the terrorist attack in December a few years back, a volunteer position. We were cutting checks to special needs, which was needed. I mean, within 24 hours, while our building was still locked down by the FBI. We could not even get into our campus. And so why?
Sometimes you have to write physical checks. I mean, how many people still have those?
We had a procedure to move to a satellite office and go to manual check writing. And it wasn't just surprise. Because it would have taken us 48 hours at minimum to even come up with that plan and to train people and design it. It was because it was prepared and planned and practiced. And so as a technology advisor, guess what? We didn't turn on computers for 4 days. So where was I with my red cape and my big red S? Nowhere, because technology didn't come into play.
Well, it's interesting. Brent, takes, I think, a page out of your book. He says that about the Colonial Pipeline is like, that's what happens when you fire old, crusty guys like me. I hear you, buddy. And he also says, I hear that the computer is down all the time. 1 month ago, I had to bring in my laptop to the orthopedic doc to see my MRI disc. Brent, whoever your doc is, you should be offering them some IT services, it sounds like, because that doesn't sound good at all.
That's horrible.
I mean, yeah, look at the reflection on the look at our attitude towards that doctor's office. Your next assumption is, I'm not going to let him operate on my leg because he can't even keep his computer running. Even those two issues may or not be connected. It's the same thing. Like I said, you walk in a hotel, they can't get you into bed. You just don't assume they're 5-star anymore.
I agree.
You go into a restaurant that can't take your order. Your assumption is the food is crap. Maybe the best food in the area, but
It's
even
like
Talking about guest
anything.
experience.
even
If
the
you watch
police
enough,
can do the carbon paper, right? If they want to write you a ticket, even if their computer's down, they'll still write you that carbon.
And that may be the answer. That's where I think we sit there and think we can come up with a new technology, and I can make things redundant as big as your checkbook is. But that may not be the answer. And I think we have to look outside that box. You're saying, I want to have reasonable time for me to correctly reinstate your systems. Not you sitting over my shoulder saying, you up yet? You up yet? You up yet? Because that's when you make mistakes. And you get that reasonable time when you solidify their business flow. And it may be rip out the carbon check, stick it on the wheel in front of the chef, and get some meals to the people sitting in the, and you know what? You're sitting there getting your food. You don't know a hill of beans of difference, right? You got your food. That's all you care about. You don't care if their computer's running, or in the hospitality, you got checked into a room and you got the room you wanted. That's all you care about.
Well,
And what?
go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
I was just
Go
saying,
ahead.
it's like anything. I mean, if you watch a lot of Bar Rescue, right? A good example of that is he always talks about, I know, great show, but he always talks about the fact that if you give a premium feel, you can charge a premium price, right? He talks about that with cocktails a lot and things like that, right? People don't want to buy a $14 craft cocktail in a dive old sports bar. But if that hotel comes, if you walk into that hotel and it's slick touch screens and all this nice fancy tech, it feels premium. You're going to feel more comfortable with the price you probably paid for it. I mean, that's anything. That's half of what we need to be pushing for these offices. There's no reason that doctors' offices should be operating as Stone Age in technology as they do today, but they do. And poor people like Brent are still having to bring in their laptops. But at that doctor's office, he walked in and it had some kind of cool touch screen with antiviral on it that the kids can play with it when they go in. You're not going to feel as bad about going in there during the day with kids. And there's little pieces like that that are going to cost them more upfront, but the premium on the back end that they're going to charge for it totally equals it out. If it should be making a pretty nice margin.
That's entirely true. I always talk about
I was gonna say, Brent says perception is 9/10 of the solution. I would even go and counter that and say technology is 70% people, 30% tech.
right.
I really believe that.
I always tell my Disney World story, and we were going to Disney World with the family, making a family vacation, staying at the Grand Floridian, and they call you up and say, what can we do to make your trip better? And I told them, I don't like waiting in line. We can do this. And I'd get off the phone and my wife would say, how much did you just spend? I go, I never asked, because I was getting what I wanted. I mean, it was stuff like, I don't want to wait in line to watch the fireworks. They said, oh, we could send a boat to your suite, have it take you around, and have dessert for your kids on the boat, and you'll sit in front of everyone that waited in line all day to watch the fireworks. Like, okay, that sounds good. And when you're getting what you want and someone acts like they want to, all they call and say, we just want to make your vacation as memorable as possible. And what they were really calling and saying, do you have any money left?
Exactly what it was.
But the fact that you're going like, and people, you don't want to hear the price of that trip, but when I go back, people, wasn't that a lot of money? I go, no, because everything was perfect.
Not to bring it back on the product side, but we talk about this a lot, right? I mean, controlling the situation, controlling the narrative is everything. I mean, one of the reasons that our integration on the bvoip side has done well is the fact that when I get a call in, it's not that, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I understand that that's broken. Could you just spell your company name for me? That conversation is just triggering to anybody. But if instead the conversation is, oh, I see all your information right here on the screen, they're probably calling in about this ticket, it's immediately turned around that conversation. And it's okay, he's got it. He's handling it. They're in control. Things are going to be fixed. It's that same level of comfort that you get from a Disney property, right? And that's why Disney's able to charge so much on top of the other stuff, right? The magic bands and all of that.
They keep on raising their price all the time. But let me flip it to this part of the conversation that kind of echoes what Keith's been saying this whole time, or at least this recent part, on a completely different front. We were on a conversation earlier. Oh, by the way, Brent says, Alec, you're so right. Incompetence is so frustrating. Yeah, but now the reason for things not getting done, COVID, right? Oh, we don't have enough people. Sorry, we're slow.
We had a hotel that couldn't check anybody in at 11 o'clock at night because there was no cleaning
your-
staff.
Your room's supposed to be ready at 4. It's 11. Sorry, we don't have any wait staff or cleaning staff. No, but to this point, and what I want to get out was we were going back and forth with a guy earlier who was like, yeah, I have an immediate opportunity to sell something to my customer, but you know what? I'll wait. And I'm like, why would you wait to generate revenue? Like, it's counter to the entire reason you're in business. Well, because I have to do work to do that, and I just don't feel like and I was like, it sounds like we're creating excuses, right? Like, like, well, I like it a certain way. I got it. But but to Brent's point, right? If the restaurant's internet's down and they can't serve people without writing it down and putting the triple carbon paper in front of the chef, as somebody in business selling technology services or business services, whatever you're gonna say, like, I'm not saying go wild and sell everything under the sun because it's not scalable, but I'm also saying if there's reoccurring revenue in front of you, why would you hold off on that? If you can start, like, you can always go back later and clean it up. I'm not saying forever. You shouldn't wait forever to clean it up. But, like, why would you hold off on generating reoccurring revenue right now? I don't understand that.
100%. I mean, revenue in the bank is revenue in the bank. And as an MSP, if you can close that, that has a huge value to it. I'm going to guess it's more than probably the work you didn't want to do.
Well, it just, like, it's the age-old problem, right? Somebody starts a new MSP and they actually, like, create flyers and go door to door and get, like, guerrilla with their marketing. They get some customers coming in the door, they're starting to make money, and then all of a sudden they stop doing everything. And then they got to sometime down the road turn it back on and say, I need more business. And they're like, where do I start? And the first thing that comes to their mind is pay somebody else to do it. I'm not saying that there aren't smart people out there that can help you, but, like, you need to like be consistently doing things, right? Keith said consistently, testing our DR plan, consistently coming up with practicing the plan. Hey, you should be consistently figuring out how to offer what you do to people, right? You shouldn't stop doing that. I think the same message can apply in a lot of different instances.
Never. I mean, because you're involved in their business enhancement, and so that's ongoing. And part of the reason you offer those auxiliary services is you want a closed door to your customers. You don't want them going, oh, this other guy comes in and just does this one thing, because that one thing could be 2 things, 3 things, and your thing. So you want to say, you know what, I'll take care of it. And even if it means I'm just a conduit controlling your vendors. I hear so many MSPs that sound like, almost feel like, don't feel guilty for making money. Well, making money is a good thing.
Yes. And Brent actually echoes what he says. I think we perceive the easy sale is too good to be true at times. So we make sales difficult. I think you're right, Brent. I do. I absolutely think you're right. And frankly, it shouldn't be hard. I mean, everybody more than ever, probably since Keith's been in business, technology is so critical to the day-to-day operation of pretty much everybody who's doing anything worthwhile. I don't see how we're struggling at all selling it, to be honest.
100%. And I think the biggest thing is we've got to realize it's a whole chain effect, right? You got to work with your vendors have to work with you. You both have to secure each side, and that same exact relationship's got to echo downstream to your client.
100%.
And that's why, by the way, my last hint, because I have an appointment at 11, and I'll stop interrupting your call. I see in vendor chats a lot, people are going, oh, what is this vendor going to give me? What discounts can I get? You're going like, it's not that your vendor's business, it's your business. Do not look at them for marketing funds or free gifts, even though I sold out for backpack. But if you're worried about price, again, take the blue light out. You should be worried about service delivery, because the best vendor may not be the cheapest and probably isn't. The best vendor for your business model is the one that can provide the service standards you need to keep your practice successful. Because again, it's labor. The cost of an RMM, I saw someone online, which is the cheapest RMM. Who cares? what are they, about $1 difference between the most, you're going like,
Could
you're
be
talking about
free.
$1?
Yeah, I mean, we still hear about internal IT using Spiceworks all the time, and it's free. And I'm like, okay, great. I don't care what it is. Does it work?
Yeah. And that costing is so minute, and you're going, understand the value. That's why, and the last thing I'll leave you with, and I can't comment, charging per device or per user is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, how do you charge, Keith?
By value we add to the business.
Okay, how do you
And quarterly prepaid in advance.
Okay. I want to do a workshop on this, Keith. I want to see how you figure out that math.
Yeah, Keith.
I'll give you an
antidote.
I'll give you an antidotal, and then I'll go. We're sitting testifying before Congress on the ports, and the guy from that we contract with just testifies that our system saved the Port of LA when it was first installed $4.9 million the first year. And I leaned over and said in his ear, and I'm kind of a smart ass, George knows this. I said, until I charge you $4.8 million a year, shut the F up. Now that's an extreme, and I'm not insinuating that someone gouged that high, but that's kind of the impression. The value of the system is not $100 per workstation or whatever people charge these days. The value of the system is the business value it added. And so why can't we have a percentage of that?
That's a great point.
And so that's what I look at is
Absolutely great point.
And so once you start commoditizing your business, you're offering people to compete with you. You've basically told your customer, this costs X number of dollars per device or per workstation. And he goes, well, let me just find a Groupon and see if someone's cheaper than you.
Groupon for MSP services.
Auto mechanics do it. It's called a flat rate. Yep, I got
you. And yeah. All right, well, I'll let you guys go. I got to jump on a call with regarding the port, which is important. But hey, thanks for having me on. Sorry, I hijacked your conversation.
No, it's all right. Come back on Thursday. Maybe we'll talk some more.
All right, and George, reach for the stars. Reach for the stars.
I'm gonna send you a backpack. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Appreciate you, buddy.
All right.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, thanks. Talk to you later.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
What a great call, man. What a great call.
That was. I guess it's time to wrap it up, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, we've gotten to that time. So Thursday, again, just a reminder, this session and every other session we've ever done is available on mspinitiative.com under sessions. You have access to them, download them, fast forward, rewind. I mean, there are probably a couple hundred now, if I had to guess.
A year and 3 months worth, at least.
I mean, that's
twice a week.
That's plenty for sure. And don't forget about Channel Strong on the same website. Don't forget about the monthly giveaway on the same website. And don't forget, we're here Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Feel free to come back and keep checking back because we keep on running into really cool conversations with good people. Take it easy, everyone, and have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.